3 months after Rachel moved back home, she noticed something she was sure hadn't been there before. There was an extra plate on the dinner table. Not every night, just sometimes. White ceramic, small scratches near the edge, folded napkin beside it, fork and glass placed carefully like someone was expected any minute. The first time Rachel saw it, she thought her mother was waiting for neighbors. The second time, she thought maybe someone had visited earlier and forgotten to clear the table. By the fourth time, she stopped asking herself questions. Because the strange thing wasn't the plate. The strange thing was her mother acting as if it wasn't there. Rachel had moved back into her childhood home at 32 after her divorce. Even now, months later, saying the word felt strange in her own head. Divorce. She still imagined something dramatic attached to it. Broken glasses, shouting, doors slamming. Instead, it had happened quietly. 8 years together had ended across a kitchen table while her husband stirred coffee that had already gone cold. I think we've been pretending for a long time. Rachel remembered staring at him because people weren't supposed to say things like that calmly. She remembered waiting for a second sentence, something that would explain the first one. Nothing came. 3 months later, she packed boxes and moved into the same bedroom she'd lived in at 16. The room looked smaller now, not physically smaller, just emotionally. The walls had been repainted years ago, the bookshelves changed, the curtains replaced. But Rachel still knew exactly where sunlight reached the carpet around 4 in the afternoon. Still knew which floorboard made noise near the closet. Still knew where she used to sit beside the window and imagine adulthood. Back then, adulthood had seemed organized, permanent, not something you returned from carrying cardboard boxes and winter coats in trash bags. The boxes were still there, near the wall. Rachel kept telling herself she'd unpack them soon, but soon had quietly become weeks. Some mornings she stared at them while getting dressed. There were labels written in black marker: kitchen, books, bathroom, photos. She never opened the one labeled photos. Her mother, Diane, never asked many questions. Rachel loved her for that and sometimes hated her for it. Diane simply opened the front door on moving day and said, "Your room's ready." Nothing else. No speeches, no pity, no "I told you so." Rachel was grateful until she wasn't. Because silence can feel comforting for only so long before it starts feeling like distance. Weeks passed. Rachel worked remotely from the dining room during the day, while Diane left early every morning and returned around 6:30 each evening. They fell into routines: dinner, television, small conversations. "How was your day?" "Fine." "Tired?" "A little." Neither of them pushed further. Rachel began feeling restless around the house, not because of her mother, because of herself. She hated feeling temporary, hated carrying her life around inside boxes stacked beside the closet, hated introducing herself without mentioning being married, hated waking up some mornings and forgetting for a few seconds that things had changed, then remembering, always remembering. One Thursday evening, Rachel walked into the kitchen and saw the extra plate again: white ceramic, folded napkin, fork, glass. Her mother stood near the stove stirring soup. Rachel looked at the table, then at her mother, then back again. "Are we expecting someone?" Diane barely looked up. "No?" Rachel frowned. "Then why is that there?" Her mother glanced toward the table. "Oh." Then she turned back to the soup. "I forgot." Rachel waited. Nothing else came. Forgot what? Forgot who? Forgot why? The answer felt unfinished. Over the next 2 weeks, Rachel started noticing other things. Her mother sometimes made too much food, sometimes looked toward the hallway after hearing sounds outside, sometimes paused during conversations for half a second, as if distracted by thoughts Rachel couldn't see. Rachel started noticing small details she had ignored before. Her mother occasionally bought a second loaf of bread, even when the first one was still fresh. Sometimes she cooked enough pasta for 4 people and quietly placed leftovers into containers afterward. Once, Rachel found 3 folded towels in the bathroom cabinet instead of 2. Little things, not strange enough by themselves, only strange when gathered together. Then, one evening, Rachel opened a kitchen cabinet looking for tea and noticed 3 coffee mugs drying beside the sink. 3. Rachel and her mother only used 2. She stared at them longer than necessary. A strange feeling settled into her chest. Not fear exactly, something quieter, something unsettled. That night she couldn't sleep. Around 2 in the morning, Rachel walked downstairs for water. The kitchen light was on. Her mother sat alone at the table, still wearing her robe, still sitting beside the empty place. Rachel stopped near the doorway. Diane wasn't crying, wasn't moving. She was just staring at the chair. Rachel suddenly felt guilty for looking, but before she could leave, Diane spoke, very softly. "I still do it sometimes." Rachel didn't answer. Her mother looked down at her hands. "I tell myself I'll stop." Silence filled the room. Then Diane smiled slightly, but it wasn't really a smile. "Your brother always came late." Everything inside Rachel became still, because suddenly Rachel remembered. Not consciously, not all at once, just pieces. Photos in the hallway, a baseball glove in storage boxes, a laugh she hadn't heard in years. Her brother, Noah. Rachel had been 23 when Noah died. Car accident. Rain. One phone call. Afterward, everything had become blurry. Rachel moved away months later, got married, built another life. And somehow, without meaning to, she had stopped noticing the shape Noah had left behind. But Diane hadn't. Mothers don't move around grief the same way. Sometimes they just learn where to place it. Rachel slowly sat beside her. Neither of them spoke for a while. Then Rachel looked at the empty chair. All this time, she thought she had come home because her marriage ended, thought she was the broken thing returning. But suddenly she realized something that hurt differently. Her mother had been eating beside an empty seat for 9 years, alone. The next evening, there were only 2 plates on the table again. Rachel noticed immediately. Neither of them mentioned it. Neither asked questions. But Rachel kept looking at the empty space where the chair used to feel occupied. And somehow, that felt worse. If this story felt familiar, there are more like it here.